Over a century ago, on October 13, 1884, Pope Leo XIII reportedly witnessed a terrifying conversation between Jesus and Satan, in which the evil one was granted 100 years to test humanity. Yet it was in 1929, under Leo XIII's spiritual shadow, that the world began to see the first tremors of what some believe to be Satan's allotted reign: the rise of totalitarian ideologies, global wars, and moral collapse. The prophecy also pointed out that 100 years later, the world will witness the rise of a man who will mark the supposed expiration of Satan's century of power. And at this very moment, the Church welcomed the appearance of our new Papa. The question is, Leo XIII saw the beginning. Is Leo XIV chosen to see the end? Could his papacy signal not just a new chapter for the Church, but the final chapter of Satan's reign? The beginning of the 100-year reign. On October 13, 1884, Pope Leo XIII experienced a profound and unsettling vision that would shape the course of the Church's spiritual history. After celebrating Mass in the Vatican Chapel, the Holy Father reportedly collapsed, his face ashen, and remained in a trance-like state for several minutes. Upon regaining consciousness, he recounted a disturbing conversation between Jesus and Satan. In this vision, Satan boasted that he could destroy the Church if granted sufficient time and power. Jesus permitted him a century, 100 years, to attempt this feat. Satan chose the 20th century as his allotted time to wage spiritual warfare against humanity and the Church. Deeply shaken by this revelation, Pope Leo XIII composed the prayer to Saint Michael, urging the faithful to seek divine protection against the snares of the devil. This prayer was mandated to be recited at the end of every low Mass, serving as a spiritual defense against the anticipated onslaught. The Pope's vision foresaw a century marked by wars, moral decay, and widespread apostasy, events that would unfold in the 20th century. Notably, the vision occurred exactly 33 years before the miracle of the sun at Fatima, a significant event in Catholic prophecy. The ensuing century bore witness to the rise of totalitarian regimes, 2 world wars, the spread of atheism and secularism, and a decline in religious observance. Many interpret these developments as manifestations of Satan's influence during his granted period. The cessation of the recitation of the prayer to Saint Michael in the 1960s coincided with a noticeable decline in church attendance and religious vocations, further fueling concerns about the fulfillment of the prophecy. As we approach the centennial mark of Pope Leo XIII's vision, the question arises: has the time come for the Church to witness the end of this dark era? The election of Pope Leo XIV, the first Augustinian pope, and the second Roman pontiff from the Americas, may signify a pivotal moment in this prophetic timeline. Born Robert Francis Prevost in Chicago, Illinois, he served in various capacities within the Augustinian order and was appointed Bishop of Chiclayo, Peru, in 2015. In 2023, he was created a cardinal and appointed as prefect of the dicastery for bishops by Pope Francis. His episcopal motto, "In illo uno unum," in that one, all are one, reflects a commitment to unity within the Church. Could Pope Leo XIV's papacy herald the conclusion of Satan's century-long influence? The fulfillment of prophecy in 2029. According to the prophecy, 100 years later, the world stands at a significant crossroads. 100 years ago, Pope Leo XIII reportedly witnessed a profound vision, a conversation between Jesus and Satan, in which the evil one was granted a century to test humanity. This vision, coupled with the subsequent rise of totalitarian ideologies, global conflicts, and moral challenges, led many to believe that the 20th century marked the beginning of Satan's reign. Fast forward to 2025, and the election of Pope Leo XIV, formerly Cardinal Robert Prevost, has reignited discussions about this prophecy. Born in Chicago on September 14, 1955, and having spent over 2 decades as a missionary in Peru, Pope Leo XIV brings a unique blend of American and Latin American heritage to the papacy. His election as the first American-born pope and the first from the Augustinian order adds layers of historical and symbolic significance. In his inaugural address, Pope Leo XIV emphasized themes of peace and unity, echoing messages from his predecessors. He called on international leaders to uphold peace and expressed a heartfelt wish for peace to resonate throughout families, nations, and the world. His words, "Evil will not prevail," resonated with many as a hopeful sign for the future. The choice of the name Leo XIV is also noteworthy. It not only honors his Augustinian roots, but also evokes the legacy of Pope Leo XIII, who was known for his social justice teachings and his vision of the Church's role in the modern world. This connection suggests a continuity of purpose and mission, potentially signaling a pivotal moment in the ongoing spiritual battle between good and evil. As we approach 2029, the question arises: is Pope Leo XIV the fulfillment of the prophecy? Could his papacy signify the end of Satan's century of influence and the dawn of a new era for the Church and humanity? While only time will tell, the alignment of historical events and the emergence of Pope Leo XIV invite reflection on the profound mysteries of faith and prophecy. In the coming years, the world will watch closely to see if Pope Leo XIV's leadership brings about the fulfillment of the prophecy and the ushering in of a new chapter in the spiritual history of mankind. God's chosen shepherd. The election of Pope Leo XIV, born Robert Francis Prevost, marks a pivotal moment in the history of the Catholic Church. At 69, he is the first American pope and the second from the Americas, following Pope Francis. His papal name, Leo XIV, pays homage to Pope Leo XIII, who, over a century ago, reportedly witnessed a conversation between Jesus and Satan, in which Satan was granted a century to test humanity. This vision has led some to believe that the period from 1884 to 1984 represents Satan's allotted time. Pope Leo XIV's selection is seen by many as a divine intervention, positioning him as a shepherd chosen by God to guide the Church through contemporary challenges. His background reflects a life dedicated to service and humility. Born in Chicago to a family of French, Italian, and Spanish descent, he joined the Augustinian order in 1977 and spent over 2 decades as a missionary in Peru. His leadership within the Augustinian community and his role as prefect of the dicastery for bishops underscore his commitment to the Church's mission. In his inaugural address, Pope Leo XIV emphasized themes of peace, dialogue, and service, aligning with the Church's mission to be a beacon of hope in a troubled world. His choice to adopt the name Leo XIV is interpreted as a continuation of the legacy of Pope Leo XIII, who championed social justice and the rights of the marginalized. This symbolic act suggests that Pope Leo XIV is not only a spiritual leader, but also a harbinger of a new era for the Church. As the world stands at the threshold of 2029, the centenary of Pope Leo XIII's vision, the question arises: is Pope Leo XIV the chosen one to bring an end to Satan's reign? His papacy could signify not just a new chapter for the Church, but the final chapter in the battle between good and evil. The coming years will reveal whether his leadership fulfills the prophecy and ushers in a time of spiritual renewal and triumph over darkness. The attack of Satan on the Church. As we approach the centennial mark of Pope Leo XIII's vision, the Church stands at a pivotal moment, facing unprecedented challenges that test its faith and resilience. Satan has attempted to destroy the Church in 2 ways, from the inside and from the outside. The first one is the attack from within. One of the methods of Satan is to destroy the Church from within. This is accomplished with the introduction of false teaching. As 1 Timothy 4:1 states, The Spirit clearly says that in later times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Jesus warned us about this through Matthew 13:38-39. The field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Satan is the one who sows the bad seed with these false teachings. Satan has his own ministers. 2 Corinthians 11:15 said, "It is no great thing, therefore, if his ministers also fashion themselves as ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works." Consequently, his ministers move in religious circles. They pose as ministers of righteousness, but are, in reality, ministers of the devil. All power comes from the rosary. In the face of Satan's relentless assault on the church, we cannot afford to remain passive. The spiritual warfare that engulfs our world demands active resistance, not complacency. To combat these attacks, we must seek protection and strength from within our souls, turning to the spiritual tools bestowed upon us by our faith. One such powerful tool is the Holy Rosary. More than a sequence of prayers, the Rosary serves as a spiritual weapon, a means to fortify our souls against evil. It guides us through meditation on the mysteries of Christ's life, death, and resurrection, drawing us closer to the divine and shielding us from spiritual harm. Saint Padre Pio emphasized the Rosary's significance in spiritual warfare. He referred to it as the weapon, underscoring its power in combating the forces of darkness. Padre Pio once remarked, "The Rosary is the weapon for these times," highlighting its relevance in our contemporary struggles. In times of darkness and uncertainty, holding the Rosary is akin to holding the Blessed Mother's hand, seeking her intercession and comfort. It serves as a tangible connection to the divine, a source of solace and strength. Therefore, in confronting the challenges posed by Satan's attacks, let us not remain idle. Instead, let us actively engage in spiritual defense by embracing the Rosary, drawing inspiration from saints like Padre Pio, and fortifying our souls through prayer and meditation. The Rosary is not just a prayer. It is a gift from heaven. Putting the Rosary under your pillow is a simple action, but it can transform your spiritual life and bring you peace and protection during your sleep. Throughout his life, St. Padre Pio always lived a life of dedication. In addition to diligently performing Mass, praying, and reconciling with God, he also connected with God through a habit maintained for millennia, which is to keep a rosary, even a small one, under his pillow. Padre Pio told us that, if we do what we have always done, what our fathers did before us, we cannot go wrong. Satan wants to destroy this prayer, but in this he will never succeed. The Rosary is the prayer of those who triumph over everything and everyone. It was Our Lady who taught us this prayer, just as it was Jesus who taught us the Our Father. The Rosary was Padre Pio's favored prayer. He prayed it many times a day, decade after decade. He had always a rosary wrapped around his hand or arm, as it was a jewel or a shield. He had other rosaries under the pillow and on the nightstand. He called the rosary his weapon. He had made a resolution years earlier to say, daily, no less than 5 complete rosaries. Concerning the rosary, Our Lady herself said to Padre Pio, "With this weapon, you will win." Convinced of the power of the rosary, Padre Pio always held the rosary in his hands. When his death was approaching, he recommended the rosary to his spiritual children by saying, "Love Our Lady and make her loved. Always recite the rosary." Padre Pio always wore the rosary around his arm at night. A few days before his death, as Padre Pio was getting into bed, he said to the friars who were in his room, "Give me my weapon." And the friars, surprised and curious, asked him, "Where is the weapon? We cannot see anything." Padre Pio replied, "It is in my habit, which you have just hung up." After having gone through the pockets of his religious habit, the friars said to him, "Padre, there is no weapon in your habit. We can only find your rosary beads there." Padre Pio immediately said, "And is this not a weapon? The true weapon?" Padre Pio instructed his spiritual children, "In all the free time you have, once you have finished your duties of state, you should kneel down and pray the rosary. Pray the rosary before the Blessed Sacrament or before a crucifix. After the glory, say, 'Jesus, I love you, and I repent for offending you.' When you get tired reciting the rosary, rest a bit, and then restart again." One person close to Padre Pio said, "We always saw him with his rosary in his hand. In the friary, in the halls, on the stairs, in the sacristy, in the church, even in the brief interval when going to and coming from the confessional. When at the end he did not talk to us anymore, we told him our thoughts. We asked for help. And all he did was to show us the rosary. Always. Always." As the recommendation by Saint Padre Pio, we all should put the rosary under our pillow when you go to sleep. The first reason is that the rosary under the pillow serves as a spiritual anchor in the midst of life's storms. In the quiet hours of the night, our souls become more vulnerable and sensitive than ever. It is during these times that the devil can easily attack our minds. And we need the tangible presence of the rosary to remind us of the promise of divine protection. The rosary will keep you grounded, prevent distractions, and provide you with the most steadfast protection. The second reason why we need to keep the rosary under pillow is it helps to remind us a constant reminder of the vital importance of prayer in our daily lives. Before you drift into sleep and right after you wake up, touching the rosary as the last and first act of the day is the moment you entrust yourself to God, the time to dialogue with God and the Virgin. Thank God for protecting us through a long day. Ask Him to keep us safe in our sleep and pray for a new day filled with grace. Thirdly, the rosary under our pillow is a powerful symbol of our trust in the loving intercession of the Virgin Mary. We entrust ourselves to her maternal protection during sleep. Mary is our mother in heaven, and as such, she is a powerful friend and spiritual advocate. In other words, the rosary is a way to connect with Mary and to ask for her guidance, comfort, and protection. It is not just a prayer for us, but for all who seek a deeper relationship with God. By repeating the Hail Mary and contemplating the mysteries, we draw closer to God and each other, uniting our prayers with the millions who have prayed the rosary throughout history. The fourth reason is that putting the rosary under our pillow is a constant reminder of the transforming power of faith. Each time we find the rosary when we wake up, we are invited to renew our commitment to God. The rosary can be a way to deepen your relationship with God and grow in intimacy with Jesus and Mary. It can be a way to invite them into your life and ask for their guidance and help in your daily struggles. It can also help you cultivate important virtues like patience, faith, endurance, and humility. Whether you are struggling with a difficult situation, seeking guidance and wisdom, or simply wanting to deepen your faith, the rosary is a powerful tool that helps enhance your spiritual growth and transformation. It is a reminder that we are never alone and that God and Mary are always with us, guiding and protecting us on our journey of faith. Fifthly, to put the rosary under our pillow is to have the peace of mind of protection in the spiritual battle against the attacks of the devil. Knowing that we have the rosary by our side at night is like being enveloped in a shield of protection against the evil one's nocturnal assaults. Sometimes, we wake up in the early hours, unable to rest as worries and painful thoughts multiply. These moments often stem from an attack by the evil one who seeks to disrupt our inner peace during the time when he is most powerful, due to the diminished presence of prayer around us. It is precisely at this time that God calls us to pray, to fill the gap left by the lack of prayer. The rosary under the pillow then becomes a beacon of light in the darkness of the night. Each morning, when we wake and feel the rosary within reach, we are moved to dedicate the first moments of our day to thanking God and Our Lady. In essence, placing the rosary under the pillow is more than a devotional practice. It is an act of trust, surrender, and a quest for peace and protection in the spiritual battle against evil. As we pray for each mystery of the Holy Rosary daily, we reflect on a different event in the lives of Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary, especially when we pray with sincerity and an open heart. In doing so, we grow in our understanding of our faith and come to know Jesus and Mary more intimately. It can also help us overcome difficult challenges in our lives. The prayers of the Holy Rosary teach us important virtues such as humility, perseverance, endurance, and faith. Praying the Rosary can also lead us to a deeper appreciation of the Holy Mass and the sacraments. It is a beautiful prayer that can bring us peace, hope, and joy. Before gently falling into a deep sleep, put your hand on the Rosary, your pillow, just like a little child who would need a rattle to hold or a teddy bear to cuddle. When you put your Rosary under your pillow every night, it is a headache for the enemy. When you wear your Rosary, Satan collapses. When he sees you praying the Rosary, he vanishes. We are going to pray the Rosary each time in order to keep it faded. Maybe when you try to resend this message, something will try to discourage you, but still forward it. Check later how the Holy Spirit works. Also, in this way, you collaborate to accelerate the triumph of the Virgin Mary. Be with us, Mary, along the way. Guide every step we take. Lead us to Jesus, your loving Son. Come with us, Mary. Come. What Padre Pio emphasized most to us is to diligently pray the Rosary. Padre Pio's love for prayer embraced his whole life. When someone inquired how he was able to pray so many rosaries each day, he answered, "The Lord asks this of me. He does not ask the same of you." Once, when he was ill, he confided to his superior, "What made me suffer the most was not being able to say even one Hail Mary." At the end of each day, Padre Pio and his fellow Capuchins gathered together in the church for evening prayers. After the Rosary, they would pray St. Alphonsus de Liguori's prayer, the visit to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, and the visit to Our Blessed Lady. Often Padre Pio's voice was broken by sobs as he recited the beautiful prayers to Jesus and Mary. The novena to the Sacred Heart of Jesus followed and was prayed for the intentions of all who had requested prayers. After the evening prayers, the members of the Capuchin community went to dinner in the refectory. Padre Pio, who had only one meal a day at noontime, remained in the church to pray. When Padre Pio finally retired to his cell at night, one or two of the Capuchins would usually stop by to bid him good night. They would always recite a Hail Mary together before parting. Padre Pio kept a rosary on the table by his bed and one under his pillow, always close by and ready for use. One evening, Father Carmelo stopped to visit Padre Pio in his cell. Padre Pio told Father Carmelo that he was going to say several more rosaries and then go to bed. "How many rosaries have you said today?" Father Carmelo asked. Because Father Carmelo was his superior, Padre Pio felt obliged to answer. "I have prayed 34 rosaries today," Padre Pio said. Padre Pio's favorite month was the month of May, because it is the month that is traditionally dedicated to Mary. How fitting that Padre Pio was born on May 25th, during the month when Mary is honored throughout the Church. He used to say that May was the most beautiful month of all because it brings to mind the tenderness and beauty of Mary. In a letter to Padre Agostino, Padre Pio wrote, "For me, the month of May is a month of graces. Poor dear mother, how you love me. I observed it once more at the dawn of this beautiful month. What great care she took to accompany me to the altar this morning. It seemed to me that she had nothing else to think about but myself as she filled my whole heart with sentiments of holy love. Padre Pio loved to say Mass at the altar of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and the Mass of the Immaculate Conception was the Mass that he celebrated most frequently. To a spiritual daughter who asked him for a thought on the Madonna, he said, "My daughter, it is enough for you to know that Mary is the mother of Jesus. She loves us so much that she offered to God the Father, his only natural Son, to save his adopted sons. She is a great and inestimable treasure who encloses in herself an infinite treasure, the Son of God." Padre Pio had a tender devotion to Our Lady of Pompeii, and he prayed the novena to Our Lady of Pompeii throughout his life. A beautiful shrine that is dedicated to Our Lady of Pompeii is located in southern Italy, near the ancient city of Pompeii. The shrine was founded by the great friend of God, Blessed Bartolo Longo. After a dramatic conversion back to his faith, Bartolo became a third-order Dominican and took the religious name Fratel Rosario, Brother Rosary, in honor of the Rosary. He dedicated the rest of his life to spreading devotion to the Virgin Mary. On one occasion, Bartolo was given a painting of the Madonna. The painting was in very poor condition, for through the years it had become stained and torn in places. Bartolo decided to have the painting refurbished. He wanted to build an altar in the parish church and place the painting of the Madonna on it. He requested permission from the bishop. The bishop told Bartolo that what was needed much more than an altar was a larger church. He asked for Bartolo's help, and he agreed to do whatever he could to assist the bishop. After much hard work, Bartolo completed the building project. He had the painting of the Madonna restored to its original beauty. Jewels were embedded into the painting, as well as a crown, which was placed on the Madonna. The image was put on a special altar in the new church. Bartolo realized that there was something altogether unique about the painting, something which, as he said, impressed the soul. And it was true. Visitors to the new shrine, upon seeing the image of Our Lady of the Rosary, knelt down and began to pray. The painting came to be known as the Madonna of Pompeii. Soon, cures and favors were reported by those who prayed before the painting. One of the first reported miracles was the complete healing of Bartolo's own mother, who had been on her deathbed. Bartolo decided to document the favors that were being received, and it was not long before he had recorded more than 900 miracles. Bartolo also composed a novena to the Virgin of Pompeii, which became widely circulated. As the word spread, more and more people had the desire to visit the shrine of Our Lady of the Most Holy Rosary in Pompeii, and it became the destination of thousands. Bartolo Longo was beatified on October 26, 1980, by Pope John Paul II, who called Bartolo the Apostle of the Rosary. Pope John Paul II had made a visit to the shrine of Our Lady of the Most Holy Rosary in Pompeii 1 year before. He declared Bartolo blessed. The Holy Father returned to the shrine in 2003 to pray for world peace. More than 4 million people visit the shrine each year. Padre Pio made a number of pilgrimages to the shrine of Our Lady of the Most Holy Rosary in Pompeii. When he was 14 years old, he traveled there with 7 of his classmates and his teacher, Angelo Caccavo. He also made several visits to the shrine after his ordination to the priesthood. He had a great admiration for Bartolo Longo, and on one occasion he sent him a holy card on which he inscribed on the back, "For Bartolo Longo. May Mary always look down on you with a maternal eye and comfort you in your afflictions." Bartolo once wrote a letter to Padre Pio asking for his advice on a personal matter, and Padre Pio wrote back to him, offering his spiritual counsel. Throughout his life, Padre Pio made countless novenas to Our Lady of Pompeii. When he needed a special grace for himself or for someone else, he would frequently ask people to pray to Our Lady of Pompeii for his intentions. He wrote to his spiritual daughter, Raffaellina Carrase, "I should like to ask you, if it is not inconvenient, to do me the kindness of making 3 consecutive novenas to the Virgin of Pompeii for a grace to be obtained for me from her Son, a grace which will mean a great deal for a certain soul." It was the Virgin Mary who came to the aid of Padre Pio and assisted him in the many trials of his life, including the times when he was attacked and tormented by the devil. One night in 1964, the superior of the monastery was awakened by a terrible noise coming from Padre Pio's cell. When he rushed to see what had happened, he found Padre Pio lying on the floor. He was bleeding from a gash on the right side of his face, above his eyebrow. His face was swollen, and there were black circles under his eyes as though he had been punched. Bruises were observed on his shoulders. Underneath his head was a pillow. When the superior asked Padre Pio what had happened, he said that the devil had come in his cell and attacked him. The superior asked him who had put the pillow beneath his head, and he replied, "The Madonna." She had taken it from his armchair and placed it under his head. For the first time in history, the Roman Catholic Church has elected a pope from the United States, Pope Leo XIV. Succeeding Pope Francis, he steps into the role not only as a spiritual leader, but also as a symbol of change in turbulent times. But beyond the celebration and hope, there's something deeper stirring in the hearts of those who followed the mysterious predictions of American prophet Edgar Cayce. Decades ago, Cayce warned of a great shift within the church, one that would mark the beginning of a spiritual awakening, but also a time of judgment and reckoning. Some believe that the arrival of Pope Leo XIV might be the very sign Cayce once foresaw. Is he the one chosen by God, not just by the cardinals? And if so, what does that mean for the future of Europe, the Vatican, and the aging faithful around the world? The prophecy about the Vatican is unfolding. Decades ago, the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce warned of a growing spiritual emptiness in Europe. He foresaw churches standing tall but nearly empty, sacred buildings with flickering candles and hollow prayers. He described a Vatican at risk, not from external enemies, but from within. Leaders would become divided, tradition would clash with transformation, and in this confusion, the people of God would begin to drift, no longer anchored by truth. And if you look around today, Cayce's warning seems chillingly accurate. People, especially the younger generations, are growing distant from the church. Attendance is down, trust in religious institutions has been shaken, and moral boundaries have become blurred in a world overwhelmed by distraction, digital noise, and division. Even among older generations, the so-called rock of the church, there's a growing sense of disorientation. Faith, once firm and unwavering, now trembles under the weight of uncertainty and fear. Cayce spoke of a spiritual war, one that wouldn't be fought with weapons, but within the soul of mankind. He described a time when humans would become emotionally weakened, mentally scattered, and easily led astray. It is in such a vulnerable state, he warned, that the forces of deception, those opposed to Christ, even Satan himself, would begin their most dangerous work. They wouldn't come with horns and fire. They would come disguised, through ideologies that sound righteous but separate us from truth, through comforts that dull our need for God, and through leaders who preach unity but compromise the gospel. Cayce's vision was clear. When the shield of faith is weakened, the door is opened, and what enters may not be of God. Now, with the rise of Pope Leo XIV, an unexpected choice from the United States, many are asking, is this the turning point Cayce foresaw? Is this the beginning of a purification or the final spiritual test? A fulfillment of prophecy or heaven's last warning? At the heart of Edgar Cayce's prophecy was a mysterious message. Out of the turmoil, a light shall rise in the west. One who walks not in power, but in compassion, will lead the faithful through the shadow. For decades, those words were dismissed as poetic allegory. But now, as the first American pope, Pope Leo XIV steps onto the world stage, many are beginning to ask, was Casey speaking of him all along? Leo XIV's election is no ordinary event. His background is unlike any of his predecessors. Born in Chicago, shaped by missionary work in Peru, and refined in the administrative depths of the Vatican, he bridges cultures, nations, and theological camps. But more than that, he represents a church at a crossroads, and perhaps a final opportunity for renewal. Casey foresaw a period in which faith would be tested by global confusion, when institutions will no longer hold the hearts of men. That test is unfolding now, secularism rising, scandals haunting the church's past, and believers losing trust in sacred tradition. Many are walking away, not in anger, but in quiet disillusionment. And yet, Casey also spoke of a great awakening, a time when the church, if led by the right shepherd, could rediscover its purpose and power. That awakening, he said, would require a pope who is not blinded by dogma or pride, but grounded in humility and compassion, one who chooses to walk with the forgotten, speaks for the voiceless, and holds fast to the core of Christ's teachings, to love, to serve, to protect the truth. Pope Leo XIV, quiet, thoughtful, and deeply pastoral, might be that man. He speaks not of dominance, but of missionary witness. He calls the church not to defend its traditions as weapons, but to open its arms like St. Peter's Square, inviting, listening, healing. He challenges not only the outside world, but also the spiritual laziness within the church itself. And while his American identity might seem like a break from centuries of tradition, Casey himself predicted that a great spiritual shift would come from the West, when the East grows dim with doubt. In a time when Europe's ancient cathedrals are emptying and the heart of faith seems to falter, could it be that this unlikely pope, a son of both continents, has come to reignite the fire? Yet, the road ahead is not easy. Casey warned that the forces working against the church would not rest. He saw a time when deception would wear a holy face, and even the highest offices of religion could be compromised if vigilance failed. This is why Pope Leo XIV may not only be a symbol of hope, but also a sign of urgency. His leadership arrives not in a time of triumph, but in a time of reckoning. And that's precisely why it matters. Because sometimes God sends not thunder, but a whisper, a humble man with quiet authority to stir the hearts of the faithful before the storm comes. Whether Pope Leo XIV is the one Casey foresaw, or merely the beginning of something even greater, one thing is certain: his presence is a turning point. And we must decide now: will we awaken and follow the call, or sleep through the warning? Edgar Casey's prediction about a major global conflict and shifts in power focuses on potential tensions centered around the Persian Gulf. He suggested that future hostilities will occur in countries such as Libya, Egypt, Syria, and regions close to Australia. Insights of Casey state that these areas might potentially turn into critical areas of interest in geopolitical conflicts. This forecast aligns with modern debates about stability in the Middle East and North Africa, seen by the competition for resources, political power, and regional dominance. Further, Casey has hinted at more profound shifts in the balance of power on the international level. He witnessed a change like leadership in the world and believed that countries like Russia could be of immense help. This prediction aligns with historical shifts where countries have risen or fallen in influence on the world stage, impacting alliances and international relations. Casey's vision of a major global conflict and shifts in power reflects his observations on potential conflict areas and the evolving nature of geopolitical dynamics. While the specifics remain speculative, the prediction shows the dependence on global affairs and the ongoing importance of diplomacy and international cooperation in preventing conflicts and maintaining stability. Edgar Casey's predictions for 2024 provide a fascinating glimpse into potential future scenarios. From dramatic geographical transformations and the rise of China as a spiritual center, to the extension of human lifespans and significant global conflicts, Casey's visions challenge our perceptions and provoke thoughtful consideration of what the future might hold. Casey's visions, including geographical changes and spiritual developments, are questionable when seen through the lens of modernity, science, and continued progress. The first major issue refers to the specification of the prophecies made by Case on various occasions. While some of his prophecies seem to align with historical events, others remain vague or unfulfilled, leaving room for interpretation. Critics argue that Casey's use of terms like perhaps and maybe allows for broad interpretation, making it difficult to assess the accuracy of his predictions objectively. Moreover, Casey's predictions about technological advancements and human evolution challenge current scientific understanding. These predictions serve as a reminder of the potential for change and the continued mystery of the future. Understanding these prophecies requires balancing curiosity with skepticism, recognizing the potential insights they offer while acknowledging their limitations in our modern society. A time to choose. If Casey's prophecies have taught us anything, it's that history doesn't unfold by accident. Every crisis, every turning point, and every leader arrives with purpose, sometimes as a blessing, sometimes as a warning. And in this moment, with Pope Leo XIV now at the helm of a shaken church, we are being forced to confront the question we've avoided for too long. Where does our faith truly stand? The signs are all around us. Church pews are emptier than ever. Families no longer pray together. Morality is no longer shaped by scripture, but by shifting public opinion. And in the silence left behind, something darker has begun to creep in. Casey warned us, when man no longer seeks God, something else will seek man. That something else, be it false teachings, spiritual apathy, or subtle deception, has already taken root in the hearts of many. We live in a world where convenience is worshipped, truth is personalized, and comfort is valued over conviction. And while the world celebrates this freedom, we must ask, at what cost? Pope Leo XIV's rise may not be the end of the story, but it may be the beginning of the final chapter. Not because he brings destruction, but because he arrives in the calm before the storm. A storm of spiritual reckoning that Casey described as inevitable if the world continued down the path of forgetting God. Leo XIV stands as both a shepherd and a sign. His mission, divinely appointed or not, is now tied to ours. He cannot carry the church alone. The faith must rise again, not just in Rome, but in every home, every heart, and every soul that still dares to believe. So now, the choice falls on us. Will we continue drifting into spiritual numbness, handing our souls over to false comfort and easy lies? Or will we awaken, armor ourselves with truth, and return to the path that leads not just to hope, but to salvation? Casey did not write his prophecies to entertain. He wrote them to warn, to shake us awake while we still had time. That time may be shorter than we think. As Scripture reminds us in Romans 13:11, the hour has come for you to wake from sleep, for salvation is nearer to us now than when we first believed. Let us not sleep any longer. Let us not wait for another sign. The new pope has come. The prophecy is unfolding. The battle is at the door, and the only question that remains is, will we stand with God or fall with the world? The Second Coming. Edgar Casey's predictions about the second coming of Christ are among his most intriguing and controversial. Casey, a devout Christian, believed that the return of Christ would be a pivotal event in human history, marking the end of an age of materialism and the beginning of a new era of spiritual awakening. Casey suggested that the second coming would occur sometime soon. He did not give a specific date, but indicated that it would happen during a period of great global upheaval and change. According to Casey, the period preceding the Second Coming would be marked by widespread chaos, conflict, and natural disasters. He predicted wars, economic collapse, and social unrest on a global scale, as well as an increase in earthquakes, hurricanes, and other catastrophic events. Casey believed that the global turmoil would serve as a catalyst for a profound spiritual awakening. He predicted that people would turn away from materialism and seek a deeper connection with the divine, leading to a renewed interest in spirituality and a desire for inner peace. Casey's visions of the Second Coming described Christ returning not as a physical being, but as a spiritual presence that would manifest in the hearts and minds of people all over the world. He believed that this presence would guide humanity toward a new era of love, compassion, and unity. Casey predicted that the Second Coming would lead to the establishment of a new world order based on spiritual principles. He envisioned a global society founded on cooperation, equality, and the recognition of the interconnectedness of all life. Casey emphasized the importance of individual spiritual growth and transformation in preparing for the Second Coming. He believed that each person had a role to play in ushering in the new era, and that personal spiritual development was essential to the collective awakening of humanity. The Awakening Year. Not only that, but Casey also gave us the huge warning for 2025. The year 2025, according to Casey, marks a pivotal moment in human history. It's described as an epoch where a collective awakening occurs the world. He believed that by 2025, humanity would experience a significant spiritual awakening, leading to a deeper connection with our inner selves and a greater awareness of our interconnectedness with all living beings. This prediction resonates with the increasing interest in mindfulness, meditation, and holistic well-being practices in our modern society. As scientific and technological advancements have dominated our collective focus, many have found themselves feeling increasingly disconnected from a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives. That is what Edgar Casey saw long ago, and he believed that 2025 is the perfect time for everyone to awaken. We all need to seek out ways to reconnect with their inner selves and find greater fulfillment in life. Edgar Casey also spoke about the awakening that people must experience after leaving this world. He told, "After death, we may enter a region that is void of love, life, and light, void of everything. For some, this region is approximately their wish come true. Here, they are truly alone with themselves. For some souls, this is a pain that is unbearable. In the absence of truth, love, gentleness, and kindness, some souls fill the void with an irrational and unbelievable amount of pain and fear. It is so dark in the realm of outer darkness that the darkness hurts, and panic grips them without knowing why. There are various degrees of darkness to this realm, and it is darker and denser at the center than at its outer fringes. The closer we are to the outer edges, the more interaction there is with others in the realm. The closer to the center, the darker and more painful is the solitude. Those who find themselves in outer darkness cannot travel across this dimension. They must grow through the levels of this realm. After death, one may find themselves in a particular degree of darkness that most closely corresponds to the degree of the absence of love in one's life. Outer darkness is not a punishment. It is a region which operates lawfully for the benefit of those who are there. This region is not a realm which was created for any soul to experience, but one which came about as a consequence of the negative activity of souls in creation. So great has been the desire for self, so monumental across time and space has been the selfishness of some of God's creatures, that this realm is the creation or manifestation of their own collective activities. Outer darkness and the reality with which it is associated were created and are held in place by collective self-interest. Being spiritually awakened means that an individual has had a profound shift in their understanding of themselves and the world around them. This awakening often comes after a period of feeling disconnected, lost, or unfulfilled in life. Interestingly, some individuals report experiencing physical symptoms, such as a fever, during their spiritual awakening, signifying a kind of intense inner burning away of old beliefs and patterns. Spiritual awakening can happen suddenly or gradually, and it often involves a change in perception, a deepening of self-awareness, and a newfound sense of connection to a higher power, even amidst internal conflict. Spiritual awakening can take many forms and can be experienced in different ways by different people. Some common signs and symptoms of spiritual awakening can include a greater sense of empathy, compassion, and love towards others, an increased ability to live in the present moment, a deeper connection to nature and the universe, a heightened awareness of synchronicities and signs, and a sense of inner peace and contentment. Ultimately, being spiritually awakened means that an individual has come to a new level of understanding and awareness about themselves and the natural world. It's through this ascension process that you realize your potential and find the ability to change your life profoundly. In other words, they've had a spiritual ascension. Now, it's important to understand the difference between awakening and ascension. At the same time, spiritual awakening refers to the internal shift in consciousness that an individual experiences, leading to a profound change in their understanding of themselves and the world. Ascension, specifically 5D ascension, signifies an evolution beyond the physical reality into a realm of higher spiritual enlightenment and awareness. This spiritual ascension, often referred to as 5D ascension, signifies a shift from the three-dimensional physical reality to a five-dimensional realm of spiritual enlightenment and awareness. It often involves a newfound sense of purpose and direction in life, as well as a deepening of one's spiritual practices and beliefs. And if you have these signs, might be you are experiencing a spiritual awakening. One of the first signs of spiritual awakening is heightened intuition. Intuition is often described as an inner knowing, a subtle voice or feeling that guides us without conscious reasoning. Imagine moments when you suddenly just know the right path to take, or when you understand something without needing to analyze it. These instances become more frequent and pronounced. You might make decisions based on a feeling or a hunch, which often are remarkably accurate and beneficial. This heightened intuition keeps you in tune with your inner voice, which speaks from your true self, free from overthinking and external influences. The noise of everyday life dims, allowing you to hear the wisdom inside you all along. As you experience this shift, your intuition becomes a source of creativity and inspiration. You may discover new solutions to problems or feel inspired to take paths you hadn't considered before. Trusting this inner guidance can be empowering, leading to a deeper understanding of yourself and your purpose. Increased empathy and compassion is the second sign. You may gain a deeper empathy and compassion as you journey through a spiritual awakening. Suddenly, the boundaries between your emotions and those of others might seem blurred, allowing you to feel what they feel with a heightened sense of understanding and sensitivity. You might genuinely experience the ebbs and flows of emotions that others are going through. This increased empathy can extend to all living beings, people, animals, and the environment. You become more at one with the subtle expressions of nature and the silent voices of animals, sensing their unspoken stories and needs. Alongside empathy, your compassion also grows. This might manifest in small acts of kindness, like offering a listening ear to a friend or helping a stranger in need. Or it could inspire more significant changes in your life, such as volunteering for causes you care about or making lifestyle choices that are more considerate of the planet and its population. This increase in empathy and compassion is a sign of your heart opening and your consciousness expanding. You start to see the interconnectedness of all life, recognizing that the well-being of others directly impacts your own. As enriching as this heightened empathy and compassion can be, looking after yourself is important. Being deeply attuned to the emotions of others can feel overwhelming at times. Setting healthy emotional boundaries helps you maintain your emotional well-being. The next sign that you need to focus on is desire for meaningful connections. A key aspect of experiencing a spiritual awakening is the desire for deeper, more meaningful connections in your life. This shift often begins as a growing dissatisfaction with superficial interactions and a hunger for relationships that offer genuine depth and authenticity. You may find yourself longing for conversations beyond the mundane, seeking to connect on a level that nourishes your soul and aligns with your newfound understanding of the world. As you embark on this journey, the nature of your relationships may begin to change. You might gravitate towards people who share your values and perspectives or challenge you to grow and think in new ways. You might seek out those who understand and respect your journey in your friendships, offering support and wisdom. In romantic relationships, you may desire a partner who supports and participates in your spiritual growth. Even in professional settings, you might find yourself drawn to work that feels more aligned with your values and allows for authentic expression. This shift can also mean letting go of relationships that no longer serve your growth. Recognizing that some connections might hinder your journey is an essential part of this process. It's about finding balance and ensuring that your social circle reflects and supports your spiritual path. Changing priorities is also a special sign. During a spiritual awakening, one of the most noticeable changes is your priorities and values. You might find yourself reassessing what truly matters to you, leading to a significant shift in how you view and interact with the world. You'll begin to value personal growth, meaningful relationships, and enriching experiences over material possessions. This realization can be liberating, freeing you from pursuing material gains and allowing you to focus on what genuinely enriches your life. As personal growth climbs higher on your list of priorities, you might invest more time and energy in activities that nurture your mind, body, and spirit. This could include meditation, yoga, reading, or creative hobbies. The joy in these activities often comes from the inner peace and self-discovery they bring. Relationships also take on a new significance. You value deeper connections with others that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and support. These relationships provide a sense of belonging and offer a space for mutual growth and sharing life experiences. Experiences themselves become more valuable than possessions. Travel, learning new skills, or spending quality time with loved ones might become more important. These experiences enrich your life in ways that material items cannot, providing lasting memories and a sense of fulfillment deeply rooted in living a meaningful life. Let's continue with feeling a sense of unity. A symptom often experienced during a spiritual awakening is a deep-seated feeling of unity or oneness. It connects to a larger, universal energy, being in harmony with all forms of life. You might experience moments where you feel deeply in tune with nature, sensing a sacred kinship with the trees, the sky, the ocean, and every living creature. In your interactions with people, you may recognize that everyone, regardless of their background or life story, shares the same fundamental desires for love, security, and happiness. This realization can foster empathy and compassion as you begin to see reflections of yourself in others. Judgments and barriers fade, replaced by an understanding of the universal human experience. You might also become more aware of how your actions impact the world. This awareness can lead to more mindful, conscious living, where your choices are guided by a desire to contribute positively to the collective well-being. Last but not least, it's experiencing moments of bliss. A spiritual awakening often brings with it unexpected moments of bliss and joy. These experiences can feel like bursts of pure happiness from deep within and often occur without any apparent external cause. These moments of bliss can catch you by surprise. You might be engaged in a mundane task or sitting quietly when suddenly overwhelmed by immense peace and happiness. This isn't the kind of joy that comes from external rewards or achievements. It feels more intrinsic, as if you're tapping into a deep well of contentment within you. This bliss is often accompanied by feeling connected to something greater than yourself. It's as if, in that moment, you're experiencing a deep truth about life and your place in the universe. These experiences can be deeply moving and transformative, offering a glimpse into being free from worry, stress, or negativity. These experiences can be incredibly rejuvenating. In the aftermath of such bliss, you might feel more energized, optimistic, and at peace with yourself and the world around you. It's a reminder of the potential for joy that resides within us all, waiting to be uncovered.